What is up, duelists? Super Insane 18 here, and today we are bringing you a post-Allen Mermail deck profile and combo tutorial. Now, you might be thinking, what changed post-Alliance Insight? Honestly, nothing. However, there were a select few individuals that did not like that my previous Mermail list was playing the Snowdust Giant, so I want to show you guys a newer build that does not include Snowdust Giant, as well as a combo that you can utilize that ends you on an absolutely insane board. So let's go ahead and jump on it. Now, the main deck is going to look relatively similar to the last one, with some small changes, which we will go over as we get to them. Of course, we are on 3 copies of Neptibus the Atlantean Prince. This is just one of the most cracked starters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of my personal favorite cards. Of course, we then have the 3 copies of Dragoon. This is one of the heart and souls of the deck. Absolutely incredible, and not once per turn. 3 copies of the Abyss Rhine. This card is more important than ever, because this format, a lot of people are main decking Droll and Lockbird, so this card is what allows you to play through Droll and Lockbird very, very easily. We are on 2 copies of Poseidra the Storming Atlantean. You could play 3 of this, and there is a relatively strong argument for it. However, I don't think that it's really that necessary. I have found 2 to be the best number in my testing, but just keep in mind that 3 is definitely viable. And finishing off the Atlantean lineup, we have our 1 copy of Heavy Infantry. Moving on to the Mermails, we are, of course, still on our 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Teus. We have 3 copies of the Mermail Shadow Squad, and one of the changes is actually going to be only 2 copies of the Mermail Abyss Pike. You will see why in the combos. There is another fish that we have replaced this with for our Coelacanth, and we will get there soon. We have our 1 copy of the Deep Sea Diva. This card can technically be cut. We are above 40. It's just nice to have an additional starter as well. And there are some combos that utilize this really, really well. I'm a little bit just undecided on it. So the Deep Sea Diva is definitely up in the air, honestly. And then the fish that we are playing now is Butterfly Fish. You may have seen this in some other recent deck profiles. This card is absolutely cracked. Not only can it add itself back to the hand if it's discarded for your water effects, but it itself can summon itself from the graveyard at the cost of discarding a water, meaning it can activate all of your Atlanteans as well as function as an additional extender, and it being a level 3 is very, very relevant, as you will see in the combo. Butterfly Fish, insane card. We then have our 1 copy of Deep Sea Minstrel, our 1 copy of Gluttonous Reptolfin Grethus, and the 1 copy of the Barrier Statue of the Torrent. Most of your end boards, if not all of them, are going to end on the Barrier Statue with ways to protect it, meaning that you are usually locking your opponent out of playing. And then we have a couple of big boys with the Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth and the Mullen Glacia for the hand rip combos as well. We are on a large number of hand traps. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom, still being the best generic hand trap in the game. 3 copies of Max C number 1, and 3 copies of Max C number 2. Now, the Molcharming Perulia is especially good in this deck because it is a water, meaning that even if you are going first, it can always function as the discard fodder that you need for a lot of your combos. We only have 3 spells, the 1-for-1, the Pot of Prosperity, and the Triple Tactics Talent. Obviously, the 1-for-1 is just another name of Neptibus. Tactics is just an insane card, especially now that it's at 1 of, it's kind of just a mega sack. And then the Pot of Prosperity, as you'll see, the most changes from the previous build occur in the extra deck. The extra deck is a lot less important. You're not using 14 of your cards for the 1 card or for the 1 turn combo. So you have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to banish some of them for the sake of additional consistency. And finally, we have 2 or 3 copies of the Dominus Impulse. That's going to round out the main deck at 42 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. Now, like I said, the extra deck is where a majority of the changes are going to be. We have the 1 copy of the Deep Sea Prima Donna and the 1 copy of the White Aura Monoceros as our level 7 synchros. Both of these are utilized in the combo. The Prima Donna is obviously going to get you your Barrier Statue. The Monoceros is a 7 that you can overlay with, as well as a Reborn for a fish. Very, very strong. Onto the Synchro 8s, we of course have the Dragite. Dragite is really cool because it gets its effect based on if you have a water in the graveyard. The entire deck is water, meaning that you will get a Spell Trap Negate very, very easily. We do have a couple of 9s with the Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithus and the Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This is one of your endboard pieces that also activates your Atlantean effects when you use them, as well as drawing you cards on summon. So you pretty much just replace your combo for free. And the Trishula is really good in specific combos where you might get stopped. You can rip cards out of your opponent's hand, which will get them banished for the effect of the Prima Donna, meaning that you'll still be able to get into something like your barrier statue. And then finally, our last synchro is going to be the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Chengying. This could be the Ice Jade synchro. This one's probably just a little bit better because you have so many ways of activating it during your opponent's turn, and it's just an additional interruption as well. We do have the Virtue Dragon. We are not playing the Virtue Stream in the main deck, but it is sided for when we are going first. And then we have the Mermail, Abyss Gaios, and the Abyss Trite, the Atlantean Spirit. Very, very integral parts of the combo. We now always end on the Gaios as well. Just really, really strong. And then the Trite is just an insane card. But we are on 2 copies of the Poseidra Abyss. One is necessary for the turn 1 combo, and you obviously want a second for cracking back on your opponent on your next turn as well. And we are not playing the equip spell, so we have no way of recurring it, meaning that we need to play 2. This is a flex spot with the Typhon. I just think that this is really good into the current format, so I'm playing it, but this can really be anything. And then finally, our 3 links are the Abyss Keeper, the Marincess Coral Anemone, and of course, the Mermail King Neptibus. That's going to round out the extra deck. Let's show you guys that combo. And now for that combo that I promised you guys, we will show you what we can do with Neptibus, any water discard, and any discard as well. We're going to have the full hand here to show you what it looks like at the end, but these 3 cards, I promise you, can be anything because they genuinely do not matter for the combo. Let's show you guys how it is going to work. Of course, we will start with the normal summon of the Neptibus, and utilizing its effect, we can send our copy of Mermail Shadow Squad. That is going to allow us to add our copy of Abyss Rhine to resolve the Neptibus, and before we resolve the Shadow Squad, I do just want to say that this plays incredibly well through hand traps, because hypothetically, if our opponent were to droll us here, we already have the Rhine, which can get us into Coelacanth and full combo from there, so we can just continue to play regardless of what our opponent has. However, for the sake of showing you the full combo, we are pretending that our opponent has no interruptions, meaning we can resolve the Mermail Shadow Squad, allowing us to summon a copy of Atlantean Dragoons from the deck. Utilizing the Abyss Rhine, we contribute itself and the Dragoons. This is, of course, going to special summon out the Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth, and then activate our Dragoons as well to add us our copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. Now, this is another point where we can just play through interactions, because we will utilize the Minstrel, discarding itself and any water monster that we have, to look at our opponent's hand, get complete knowledge, and to banish a card until the end phase. That means if our opponent has something like Nibiru, we just played around that as well. Now, utilizing the Coelacanth, we can discard one of our additional cards. That is, of course, going to give us 3 summons from the deck. That will be the Reptolfin Grethus, the Butterfly Fish, and the copy of Mermail Abyss Pike. So what we will do here is we will take the Grethus and the Abyss Pike, and we will synchro those off into our copy of White Aura Monoceros, which will activate the effect of Monoceros on summon to reborn out that Grethus. With the Grethus, we can go ahead and overlay both of these into our copy of Virtue Dragon, and since we aren't main decking the trap, we won't search it, but if you are post-side deck, you can search it here. Instead, what we'll do is we will go ahead and utilize the Virtue Dragon effect, detaching 1 material to then add the Atlantean Dragoons back to our hand, which we will then just discard again later. Here we can utilize the effect of the White Aura or not the effect rather, but overlay the White Aura Monoceros and the Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth into our Abyss Trite, the Atlantean Spirit, which on summon is going to allow us to bring back the Mermail Abyss Pike. Here we can overlay the Abyss Trite into our copy of Poseidra Abyss, the Atlantean Dragon Lord, and linking that off with the copy of Virtue Dragon, we will go into our copy of Coral Anemone. This will, of course, activate the Poseidra Abyss effect, allowing us to discard a card to reborn 3 level 3 or lowers. The ones that we will be reborning, of course, are going to be the Grethus, the Abyss Rhine, and the Shadow Squad. Here we will also then get the Atlantean Dragoons effect because it was discarded, allowing us to add our copy of the main deck Poseidra, the Storming Atlantean. Next, we will take the Abyss Pike and the Grethus, and we will link those off into our copy of Deep Sea Prima Donna. And now that we have the empty space, we can utilize the Marincess Coral Anemone to reborn out our copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. Now, a really cool effect that Minstrel has here is she can let us mill the top 3 cards of our deck to place a water from the graveyard back on top or bottom. So we will utilize that effect, showing you guys that the 3 that we hit do not matter, because the only important part here is that we are actually utilizing that to put the Atlantean Dragoons back to the top of our deck. Now, why is putting the Dragoons back at the top important? Well, that is because with the Deep Sea Minstrel, the Abyss Rhine, and the Squad, we are going to go ahead and Synchro Summon into our copy of Ravenous Crocodragon. On summon, that will allow us to draw 2 cards because we use 2 non-tuners, one of which is guaranteed to be the Dragoons, and the other one does not matter, it is just an additional card. We can then utilize the effect of the Deep Sea Prima Donna, putting the card that we banished off of the Minstrel earlier back into our opponent's hand in order to special summon out the Barrier Statue of the Torrent from our deck, now meaning that, let's say it was Nibiru, they can't Nibiru us anyway, we are now waterlocked for everyone. We can utilize the Prima Donna and the Neptibus as a synchro material for the copy of the Dragite, giving us an additional spell and trap negation, because, I mean, we have waters. This entire deck is water. So now we can go ahead and summon out our copy of Poseidra by discarding the Dragoons one more time, giving us a final Dragoon search for the copy of Neptibus, the Atlantean Prince. And the final move that we will do for our turn is utilizing the Poseidra and the Marincess. We will link into our copy of King Neptibus to make sure that all of these remain untargetable, allowing our end board to be 4 cards in hand with this. And what is all of this? Well, let's break it down. Of course, none of this can be targeted, and we are locking our opponent from special summoning anything that is not water, but we also have a spell trap negate. We have a way to destroy a card with the Crocodragon, which if we use the discard as the Neptibus, Neptibus will be able to trigger reborning the Poseidra. Poseidra will be able to send Dragoons from deck to bounce a card. Dragoons will get us a infantry from our deck. Infantry can then be used for the discard effect of the Graveyard Abyss Rhine to give us a draw, and then the infantry will of course pop us a card, and this is just an incredible amount of interruption for our opponent, giving us 4 cards in hand, guaranteed follow-up, and it is just absolutely crazy. And there you guys have it. That is going to be the no Snowdust Giant version of Mermail Atlantean for the upcoming Allen format. There are a billion more combos where this come from, so what we're going to do is, if you want to see a dedicated combo tutorial, make sure to get this video to 100 likes. I don't think that is a hard goal to reach. You guys have crushed that before in the past. That will let me know that you guys want to see more of this deck, and I love this deck, so I would love to be bringing it to you guys, but you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share with your friends, and as always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard using my code INSANE18 or the link in the description down below. You can get 5% off your order, as well as help to support the channel so I can continue to bring you some amazing content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.